Alright, I just want to do a review on um, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Um, First thing I want to say, this has classic prequelitis. And this is a term I've come up with, but I doubt I'm the first. It's not that intelligent of a it's not like the cure for cancer, like, oh, no one ever thought of this before. Um, I'm not that creative most of the time. Oh, I gotta fix this. I might chance most of my shit up. There we go. It's not exactly as I had it, but it'll do. Um, so yeah, it has classic prequelitis. I think I explained what I meant. But what sequelitis actually is this a prequel. Do we need to? They explained so. Movies don't ever really need nothing should ever need a prequel. A prequel is a fun little thing you can do on the side to sort of connect things a little bit more or explore things a little bit more. But the prequels don't normally and can't usually add anything to the original. It just is to explore ideas that you mentioned earlier on or introduced earlier on that you didn't really have time or didn't care to fully develop. This should be easy to understand, but people always end up going to watch a prequel to a movie or something like that and then be like, oh, well, we didn't need that explained. And yeah, you didn't. That's the point of prequels, to explain stuff that isn't really important but makes you go, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, what else would you need a prequel for? If you need to explain something that basically just ruins another thing because you didn't know what this thing was and it needed to explain, that's bad movie making. You got too lazy to, like, you can watch Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 and not feel like you're missing anything, as people did for a long time. Then the prequels come around and people are still like, well, this is cool. This is kind of a necessary part of the saga now. Not really. The prequels so far don't add anything. What they could do is use a prequel to set up something for a sequel. You know? Like, so you're watching... I can't really... So, Solo seems to have set up another movie that isn't Solo, but, you know, like, basically a post-credit scene, but not quite. The cliffhanger ending has Darth Maul showing back up. And so they use that prequel in the form of Solo to set up for another movie, which will probably be, I guess technically another prequel. But in terms of this, they're using this to set up something else, you know, while also exploring elements of Han Solo. You can do it that way, or you can just have prequelitis and be like, oh, well, as a child, Anakin built C-3PO. You know, see, prequelitis. So yeah, anyways, 3 minutes into this and I haven't even gotten into Star Wars yet. So, The Phantom Menace. It starts off with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan doing some sort of meeting, I can't remember, negotiations with the Trade Federation, who at this point, common misconception apparently, doesn't know that, I'm gonna lock this. That Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been trying to figure out. They actually haven't even been trying to figure it out. They didn't know there was a Sith Lord. The reason they're going after the Trade Federation is because they're doing some shady shit. And so they're trying to negotiate. Be like, okay, can you stop doing that? Something along those lines. And then we have... sorry, my throat is sore. Then we have, eventually they wind up on Tatooine finding little Lanny. And apparently Padme just has, like, a bunch of droids, and one of those droids was R2, as, like, I guess repairman mid-flight? That was kind of weird. I don't understand. But, yeah, basically, on their ship, they needed to repair it because someone shot at them. I don't know. I think it was like a vulture droid or something like that. I can't remember the exact details on that. On these like minor things, but R2 is just there for no reason, and everything is connected and it doesn't need to be. When we get onto Tatooine, no, they don't go to Tatooine immediately, and I think the R2 thing is actually later. Yeah, it has to be because first we go to Naboo, and we see all these other Gungan things, and then Jar Jar, the controversial Jar Jar the Wise. I want to see him be added as a hero in Battlefront 2. Like, no joke, because I actually like that guy, but I just want to know what his moveset would be. Like, that would be weird, right? Maybe only have it in a certain mode. Don't need to see that in the lobbies. And Jar Jar tries to get, like, he's an idiot. That end of story. Written. But, yeah. So we see, Wolverine, what the, we see Jar Jar and Qui-Gon is like, whoop, get down. He's like, you must have us both. What do you bring us? And then Misa speak. Just because you can speak doesn't mean you have a brain. And, so, yeah, I actually like that character, by the way. A little tidbit about me, the more you know. But, basically, George Bunkus, he gets in the way a lot. At the end, he's like the MVP, on the ground forces, so that's kind of neat. But he gets his foot stuck in the droid wiring, and he accidentally keeps triggering it to go off. Oh, this movie also introduced the battle droids, which I talked about in a Star Wars video. Fixing Star Wars games era by era. But yeah, this movie introduced those guys. This is kind of cool. They're made by the Trade Federation, and that's kind of part of the shady shit they're doing. And then Qui-Gon talks to Anakin, and he's like, yo, I need you to... Well, they go to Tatooine first, and he's like, yo, I need you to get someone for me or something like that, or something for me. I need your help, and if you're a pod racer, we'll let you do pod racing till we can get home. Or get back to where we need to be. And then Anakin's like, sure, I'll do some pod racing. While you're at it, you need me to grab you some milk at the store? And then, no, actually, he's the one who came up with the idea. Just trying to be a little funny here. My hair is floofed. But, yeah. And then, sorry, I couldn't swallow that for a second. Then we have, after the pod race, which is just crazy cool, we see, like, I believe, after they meet Padme, after they meet Padme out, back at Annie's place, Anakin is all, I built this droid, it's C-3PO, human-cyborg relations. And then, eventually they run into Darth Maul on their way out, and we see this cool lightsaber fight, but then Qui-Gon's like, we're leaving. And Darth Maul's like, damn it. But then, like, right at the end of the movie, we have Darth Maul, and he's all, I'm cool and shit. And no, he's not. He's pretty cool though. But then he kills Qui-Gon, and then Obi's like, no! Yeah, cuts him in half, kicks him in a hole. Badass. But, apparently he survived that ordeal somehow. I thought that he was resurrected during Clone Wars, but apparently he was alive the whole time. More on that in, like, 16 days, probably. And then, yeah, that's really all the important shit. Anakin getting into the Naboo starfighter and blowing up the Death Star was kind of unnecessary. I realized that wasn't the Death Star, but hey, man, comparison. Um, so yeah, basically, I don't know. I really like this movie, but I understand people don't, so that's kind of something. I give it 8 out of 10. You know, it has its faults. The lows are, meh. The highs are uh, good, I guess. But there's just something about it that I really like. I guess it's really more of an explorative movie. It's kind of boring at parts, but it has elements of what I liked about episode 4, or episodes 4 and 5 of Star Wars that were lacking in episode 6. And we see a lot of on The Mandalorian. The more explorative parts of it where we get to see all these different worlds and stuff. And the characters we meet are kind of interesting and stuff. An exploration sort of adventure kind of thing that we don't see in Star Wars a surprising amount anymore. Like, that was one of my favorite parts of it. The Mandalorian feels more Star Wars-y to me than anything Disney has ever put out, because we see Star Wars to me has always been an adventure, and that's what this movie delivered on. So I think it's pretty cool. This is my opinion anyways, and I understand that people don't like this movie because dialogue's weird. It's kind of McClunky, and it just gets really weird and all over the place. But yeah, 8 out of the 10. 8 out of the 10. Yeah, I 8 out of the 10. See you. But 8 out of 10. I'll give it that. I do think, though, outside of the dialogue and the weird CG, Jar Jar can be kind of annoying in a few areas. And he's weirdly expressive in moments where he shouldn't have any expression whatsoever. It's just really weird. Later.